let's dive into one of the most audacious and frankly bizarre stories of the 19th century. It's a hoax that completely captivated England, and it tells us as much about the fantasies of high society as it does about the brilliant young woman at the heart of it all. Okay, take a look at this. This is Princess Caraboo. So picture this. It's 1817, and she just appears, almost out of thin air, in a sleepy little English village. She's dressed in these exotic clothes, speaking a language nobody has ever heard, and she just has this vibe, an air of mystery and royalty that immediately fascinated everyone she met.
But there was just one tiny problem. She wasn't a princess. At all. She wasn't from some lost exotic island. Her real name was Mary Willcocks, and she was the daughter of a shoemaker. So the big question is, how on earth did she pull this off? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
All right, let's rewind. To really understand how this incredible hoax worked, we've got to go right back to the beginning, to the very moment this mysterious stranger first appeared and set a quiet English town buzzing. It all kicks off on April 3rd, 1817. A local cobbler finds a young woman wandering alone. She seems totally confused. She's wearing these very strange clothes, and she's speaking a language that is, well, complete gibberish to everyone. The authorities are called in, but they're just as stumped as everybody else. The townspeople started trying to piece together what little information they could. First, she called herself Caraboo. Okay. They also noticed she was fascinated by any kind of Chinese-style decoration. And get this, when they showed her a pineapple, she identified it with the word nanas. Now that was a huge clue, because that's a real word for pineapple in several languages. It seemed to prove she was from somewhere far away. She even refused to sleep in a bed, insisting on the floor. Every little quirk just deepened the mystery.
But a few strange habits don't automatically make you a princess, right? So how did this story escalate from a local curiosity into a full-blown national sensation? Well, this is where the myth-making really begins.
Then, almost a little too conveniently, a breakthrough arrives. A Portuguese sailor named Manuel Inyeso shows up. And wouldn't you know it, he claims he can understand her language. And the story he translates is absolutely extraordinary. He reveals that she is Princess Caraboo from the island of Javasu. Her backstory? She was captured by pirates, but heroically jumped overboard and swam to shore. I mean, you couldn't write a better adventure story. With her backstory now confirmed, she becomes an instant celebrity. The local high society royal family takes her in, and for 10 weeks, she lives the life of royalty. And she played the part perfectly. She wowed the local gentry with her fencing and archery skills, baffled them by swimming naked in the local lake, and prayed to a god she called Allah Ta'ala, a name that sounded just foreign enough to be convincing. Of course, her portrait was painted, and the newspapers just couldn't get enough of her. And look at this. This is the actual language she invented, a clever mix of total gibberish and some Romani words she had picked up. She even created an entire script to go with it. I mean, to the untrained eye, it looked completely convincing, didn't it? And here's the crucial part. The so-called experts of the day fell for it completely. One academic from university literally verified her script using an encyclopedia of alphabets. Another doctor declared that some strange marks on her head were clearly the work of skilled Oriental surgeons. Every expert opinion just added another layer of legitimacy to her story. But as her fame grew, so did the risk of being exposed. The very thing that made her a star was, in the end, going to be her downfall. The press was her greatest ally. Her portrait and her incredible story were published in journals all across the country, turning her from a local wonder into a national phenomenon. But, putting your face everywhere means that sooner or later, someone is bound to recognize you. And it wasn't a language expert or a high society gentleman who exposed her. It was a boarding house keeper. A woman named Mrs. Neal saw the picture of the princess in the Bristol Journal and knew right away this was no royal. This was Mary Willcocks, a girl who used to be her servant. And just like that, the whole story collapsed. Look at the two realities side by side. The fiction, Princess Caraboo, royalty from Javasu. The truth, Mary Willcocks, a cobbler's daughter from Devon. Her foreign language was just a mix of gibberish and Romani words. And those scars from Oriental surgeons, they were actually from cupping, a common and pretty crude medical procedure done in the poorhouses back then. The entire fantasy just evaporated. So, what happens to an imposter after the greatest performance of her life is over? Well, let's look at the fascinating and kind of tragic next chapter of Mary's life. 10 weeks. That's all it was. For just a brief, shining moment, a poor servant girl from Devon got to live the life of a princess. But that notoriety, for better or worse, would follow her for the rest of her days.
Her patrons, probably a bit embarrassed but also sympathetic, funded a trip for her to go to America. She tried to revive the act there, but it just didn't work. She eventually came back to England, got married, had a child, and just faded completely from the public eye. In a final, sad twist, the once famous Princess Caraboo was last seen selling leeches to a hospital, and she eventually died in total obscurity after a fall.
And what about the public's reaction? The press, which had built her up, immediately turned on the story. But now it wasn't about the charming princess anymore. Oh no. The new angle was to make fun of the foolish social climbing townspeople who had been so easily duped. The whole thing became a big joke at the expense of those who wanted so badly to believe.
So, what do you take away from all this? Was she a con artist, a brilliant actress, or was she simply a desperate young woman using her wits to survive in a really harsh world? Her true motives are still a mystery, but her story is an incredible reminder of the power of a good narrative and our own willingness to believe in something extraordinary.